As Ottawa scales back temporary immigration streams, the federal government is expanding a program aimed at attracting what they describe as top talent internationally.
The right people to find us, we will go out into the world to recruit the people our country needs, to connect them with Canadian employers, and to highlight why Canada is the place, the best place in the world to build their careers and lives.
So that is Immigration Minister Lindsey Deluce announcing new express entry categories that fast-track permanent residency. Researchers and senior managers, aerospace workers, and highly skilled foreign military applicants recruited by the Canadian military are now eligible for this program. For more on what the new streams mean for our immigration system, we're joined in studio by Rabia Khalid, immigration lawyer at Mandelbaum Immigration Lawyers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, these new categories come after Canada opened an express entry portal for foreign doctors last year. I think what's confusing to people is we seem to be cutting back on some streams of immigration and fast-tracking others. So who does the federal government want to incentivize to come to Canada?
I think it's important to understand that Canada's express entry system is critical to supporting Canada's economic growth. So our Immigration Refugee Protection Act states as one of the objectives is to support development of Canada's economy. In last 2025 engagements by the government identified a few objectives that they would like to achieve by targeting certain occupations. So for example, long-term labor shortages. One of the criteria is to invite more physicians who have Canadian work experience. So one of the objectives identified is to fulfill that long-term shortage gap. And at the same time, we're also seeing some innovation projects, leadership. So we're seeing more senior managers, as well as foreign military recruits in order to have a healthy national security environment.
Yes, plus we've also pledged to expand our military here in Canada, our defense requirements.
Yes.
Minister Deluce is linking the military pathway to Canada's defense industrial strategy. That was just announced, $6.4 billion. How does the government choose its express entry categories? This is just based off of which qualifications?
So there are different types of categories. How does the government choose? Again, they go back and identify what are some of the labor shortages? How can we get more innovation into Canada? And goes back to the same thing as how can we improve Canada's economy, economic growth? So when it comes to, let's just say, foreign military recruits, the Canadian Armed Forces want to hire more foreign applicants, and Canada is kind of investing back to make sure that we have safe national security environment.
I'm glad we have you here to help clarify some things, because if you've gone through the immigration process, it is confusing. If you haven't had to go through it because you were born here, it's also confusing. According to data from Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, the number of new student permit holders arriving in Canada was decreased by 61% from 2024 to 2025. And the number of new worker permit holders decreased by 47% in that same time frame. This is part of them cutting back on immigration pathways here in Canada. So what signal is Ottawa sending overall about its immigration strategy by winding down those programs and fast-tracking others?
Yeah, I would say that they're sending mixed signals. So for example, international students, Canada, we had a lot of students coming in during COVID. And I feel like now government is trying to balance it out because we had more students come in and now they're targeting specific occupations. So it's kind of like mixed signaling from an international student perspective, but at the same time, we're moving towards more of like a selective criteria where certain occupations are prioritized as opposed to others. So it's, again, going back to those objectives that were identified, filling in labor shortages, having more people in innovation space, and, for example, senior managers. There's another category of researchers, scientific researchers, so having that research done in Canada so we can train future applicants or future students.
I'm going to ask you more about that in a second, but first of all, we did request for the immigration minister to join us. We were told she was not available, but they did send us a statement instead, and it says, in part, the government of Canada is focusing immigration on where it delivers the greatest impact, filling labor gaps, strengthening key sectors of the economy, and supporting communities across the country. Then they also added the list of invitees to fill those critical labor gaps include medical doctors with Canadian work experience, researchers with Canadian experience, senior managers with Canadian work experience, skilled military recruits who have a job offer from CAF, like military doctors, pilots, plus transport occupations that include pilots, aircraft mechanics, and inspectors. So how certain is this pathway for these applicants, and what does it mean to have Canadian experience? Are they targeting people who are already here? This is not a message that's being sent overseas.
Yeah, so that's a good question. When we talk about categories, in 2023, government introduced category-based draws, where we had certain categories where both work experience in Canada or abroad would qualify. But the new ones that came out just now, certain occupations are targeted towards candidates who have work experience in Canada. And when we talk about eligibility criteria, when the government introduces certain programs, there's a lot more to it behind the criteria, like we look at the rules and the regulations, and what exactly does it mean to have work experience in Canada?
That's what my question is.
So it remains to be seen how these draws are going to be played out, because it's fairly new. We had a draw recently for physicians with Canadian work experience, so doctors and physicians who are working in Canada.
But Rabia, we hear this story all the time. People come to Canada with medical experience that's not here, but they are, fully qualified doctors, nurse practitioners, et cetera, and then they get here and they can't find a job in that occupation, so they won't have that Canadian experience piece.
Yeah.
So how will they fulfill the list?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question, and something to kind of see how it folds within this year, when we see like how many numbers of physicians are becoming Canadian permanent residents.
Yeah.
What do the numbers look like? Are they the objectives that have been identified? Let's just say doctors come in and they can't find work, and like Canada is opening pathways for people who already have work experience in Canada. So how is it going to play out?
Yeah.
So that's something that still, it remains to be seen how the numbers are gonna play out.
We're going to keep asking for the immigration minister to come and join us so we can get some of those answers. In the meantime, great to have you here to add some clarity.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.